The 50th episode of the Bloodline Rewind, and we've reached one of the biggest nights of Roman Reigns' historic run, Survivor Series 2021. It's champion versus champion, Roman Reigns versus Big E. The New Day Brotherhood stands face to face with the Island of Relevancy, and one question looms large: who truly runs WWE? From Vince's golden egg to Paul Heyman's panic, Roman making Big E bend the knee. It is a night of chaos, ego, and dominance. Let's see how it all plays out as we rewind the Bloodline. Welcome back to the Bloodline Rewind. I'm your host, Johnny Bakeshow, and my co-host, Teddy Mongoose, is in here today, and this is part 50. If you missed last week's show, Roman Reigns humiliated King Woods by destroying his crown and his throne, but Big E got his revenge as the show closed in a trap of the Bloodline, so go back and make sure you check that out. If you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is the best way to support the channel, and it keeps you in the know for when we drop daily Bloodline content, and we are inching ever so closer to the 500. We might even be at 500 by the time this drops. So we'd like to thank you all for joining us here, but before we hop in, Goose, what did you pull from this Observer? I can't wait to hear what you got for us.
So we're here to talk Survivor Series, so we'll get right into it. From the November 29, 2021 Wrestling Observer newsletter, the 2021 Survivor Series show came to us from Brooklyn, New York, November 21st, 2021. The show received 30.6% thumbs up, 55.2% thumbs down, and 14.2% thumbs in the middle. The best match was overwhelmingly Becky versus Charlotte. Roman versus Big E finished third in best match poll. The worst match was the 25-man battle royal. And unfortunately, I watched way too much of this show. And so I'm in the group with the 55.2%, man. This was a rough one to get through.
Yeah, all I watched was the Bloodline. I couldn't do it to myself. And the egg. Oh, I can't wait to talk about the egg.
Bless your heart, dude. So Dave Meltzer says the 2021 Survivor Series was a show built around non-title matches that had little storyline build-up, and the traditional matches had no interaction between brands. It was, from a television standpoint, one of the weakest builds to a pay-per-view to date. And aside from the Becky and Charlotte legit disagreement and a minor situation with Big E vowing revenge for what the Bloodline did to Kofi and Woods, there was little to no build for the matches. So, Dave underwhelmed. I was overwhelmed coming into it.
I don't like the way that they build Survivor Series for like 10 years.
No, it will. And little sidebar here. The biggest problem with the champion versus champion thing, and it was sort of rectified in modern day with the Crown Jewel Championship, is these matches had no stakes.
Right. That's what I don't like it. There's nothing. We know that they're just one-offs.
Right. I didn't mind it when it was the Brock versus little guy. I actually loved seeing Brock and AJ, Brock and Daniel Bryan. Those kinds of matches were great because Brock is so good against the little guy. But once it was no longer Brock, I should take that back, because Roman versus Drew McIntyre Survivor Series 2020, one of the best matches that we reviewed here, and there was no crowds here.
Right. Because if we rewind a year to Survivor Series 2020, for me, that's like still number 2, because we have the triple threat match from WrestleMania, but I love that Survivor Series match. It's still one of the best ones we've seen.
Correct. And so when done well, a one-off is fine. The problem here, and I did like the little makeshift storyline that they did, but if you're watching it in live time, I get all this criticism. It's very valid. It's very real. All came together last minute. And the reality is, once it's over, we're going back to our brands. It's the one time of the year we're going to face each other. And so there's nothing that falls out from it. All right. So our show begins.
In a world where survival is everything, two sides prepare for battle.
And then Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. So it is red notice time.
What?
They say right out front that this is a tie-in. And then tonight, this is the one night.
Is the one night where Raw and SmackDown collide.
And I instantly needed to put the footnote, except for the half dozen shows that we've talked about where the Bloodline literally faced off on Raw against the New Day or whatever the past couple of weeks. So there goes that.
But I guess the funny thing here is, are we doing Dwayne a favor here to make sure that he gets box office views for Netflix?
Oh, so believe it or not, this movie, Red Notice, ended up being one of the biggest first week stream Netflix original movies ever. So I don't know if it helped, but it didn't hurt. But I digress. So they do the big dramatic champion versus champion, the best versus the best. It's all about surviving. Who will own the night?
Red Notice presents WWE Survivor Series.
And anything can happen. And why are they colliding?
Why?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the real question is, in live time, you're watching this. I didn't know what Red Notice was. You didn't know what Red Notice was. Why is this colliding with one of the big five, right?
It's all for Dwayne.
Obviously, it's all for Dwayne. So we get more pyro than you've ever seen in your life. Michael Cole welcomes us to WWE Thanksgiving night, or Thanksgiving week at this point, it's tradition. And Michael Cole tells us that 15,120 fans are here tonight. And that doesn't sound anything like the ticket numbers that we reported a week ago.
I think we're remotely close.
Right. So the total numbers for this show actually ended up being 12,646 in the building, 10,500 paid. But again, I digress.
Bruh.
We get into the show. Becky beats Charlotte with a pretty lame roll up. The match itself was good. I did not like the finish, but we get to our first. And Vince is on the call. 25 years ago, Survivor Series at MSG. The Rock makes his debut. He's working over the King and Goldust, the first third-generation superstar. Vince on commentary calls him a thoroughbred. JR on commentary says,
Now there's going to be the man right there.
and after the Raw team wins the men's elimination match, we go to Vince earlier today, coming out of a limo. He gets a huge pop from all the geeks backstage, and he has the golden egg. And so all these geeks start popping and chanting, egg, egg, egg. The best thing about this, John, is as a shoot, I don't know who the man is. Yeah. Mace without the mask, whatever. But this dude goes to touch the egg, and Vince shoots on him real time and goes, don't touch that. And you can see Vince literally cursing at him and muted.
Yeah.
So Vince didn't want anyone touching that egg, man.
You can look, but you can't touch.
Even though it was absolutely not Cleopatra's egg, It was Vince's thing. And we don't know if that guy's still employed after that happens.
Bruh.
There's no chance.
They've already cut 100 guys so far this year. What's this guy?
What's 101?
Exactly. So we go to our next Rock highlight. 23 years ago, Survivor Series, The Rock wins the Deadly Games tournament. He becomes the corporate champion. And so we are Rock-centric so far.
So much Rock. We fast forward to Roman approaching Mr. McMahon's office, and we haven't seen Mr. McMahon involved in a Bloodline storyline or anything like that here in a while. He was briefly a part of the Fiend Kevin Owens storyline at the beginning of the year of 2021. So Roman walks in, he shakes Vince's hand, and Vince wants to show him something, and we have this awkward pause, and then Vince, he called him in because he wanted to show him this damn egg.
That's Cleopatra's egg.
Show the egg. Like, Vince also isn't enunciating.
No.
That doesn't help the segment.
He's sitting there tapping on that phone. He's fake tapping. He's not even clicking on anything.
At least it's the red iPhone. At least we have some continuity with what we show on television.
I guess. And Roman asks what it is, and Vince tells us that it's Cleopatra's egg, and The Rock gave it to him.
And as a token of his appreciation for what I've done for you.
This is clearly all for the Red Notice gimmick, and Vince tells him that this egg is worth $100 million. And Roman shakes his head, and he says,
almost as much as my next contract.
And the look on Vince's face when he realized what Roman said here was actually pretty great. I actually liked it.
The end of the segment was awesome. the beginning of this segment where Vince starts talking about it, and then he goes into the whole Rock lore. Rock walked in here with $7 in his pocket.
I'm so tired about that.
Right. I'm sure he did, right? But we got more product placement because next up, Omos wins the Battle Royal, the 25-man Rock 25th anniversary Battle Royal. Afterwards, the Street Profits jump him and AJ. They're eating Pizza Hut, passing Pizza Hut out to everybody.
No one out pizzas the Hut, brother.
You got that right. They had breadsticks. They had it all. So our next Rock highlight, 21 years ago at the Royal Rumble, The Rock wins the Royal Rumble in New York City, even though his feet hit the floor when he eliminated Big Show. But that's a story for another day. It might have been covered in a sister channel. I don't know. So next up, we got RKBro versus the Usos, and Jimmy Smith, Byron Saxton, and Pat McAfee are on the call. And I just wrote, I'm sure this is going to be a treat.
So the Usos come out and they're in all white, and I love when they do that, but the doves are soaring as RK-Bro takes the ring.
I literally wrote the same thing. I said, the Usos out first in all white. Love that. Tonight, Randy Orton sets the record for pay-per-view matches in WWE history. Fun little factoid if true. And fact check from the Observer. They actually mentioned this. With his tag team match, Randy Orton set the record for the most pay-per-view matches in WWE history with number 177. He has been tied with Kane going into the show at 176. The Viper overtakes the brother of the dead man.
So Jimmy and Riddle are kicking us off as Riddle takes over early with an arm bar that Jimmy rolls into a quick count. Jimmy gets some heat on Riddle in the corner, but he is able to do the backflip over Jimmy when he's sent across the ring, and he nails a big kick to the chest of Jimmy. Riddle then grabs Jimmy into a gut wrench suplex, and he starts spinning around in circles, and he lands a suplex. Randy tags in, and he starts getting some offense, and he nearly hits an RKO, but Jimmy pushes Randy away, and he rolls to the outside, and he hugs Jay.
Yeah, I love this, man. He absolutely powdered and went right into Jay's arms. Great spot there. They don't ever do this, which is what made this so good.
Jay tags in and he gets after Randy quickly. Randy slingshots Jimmy after he taunts the crowd, and Riddle tags in for a double team flip. Jimmy then runs in and is sent over the top rope, and then Riddle hops onto the apron to kick Jimmy, and he springboard flips onto him in the aisleway. Riddle goes to get back in the ring, and Jay lands a forearm, sending Riddle flying into the barricade, and the Usos get some heat on Riddle on the outside as Jimmy lands a tope. Pat is now calling the ref stooges, and I was just sitting here like, what are we doing? Like,
this is a weird part of the match, because then they talked about what stooges are. Whatever, man.
So Jimmy is all over Riddle now, just beating him down in the corner. He lands a hip attack, and he goes for another, and he gets his head kicked off, and then we have a double down. Jimmy tags in, and he cuts off Riddle from tagging out with a headlock. Riddle nearly gets the tag, but is dragged back to the Usos corner as Jimmy lands a snap suplex and another headlock.
Yeah, this was about the point in the match where I wrote, they being the Usos, have been doing the one so much, their hands must be numb. Like, every time they did anything and got any heat, they put them up. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I'm thinking, like, my God, how much blood flow is getting them pinkies right now?
So Riddle fires up with a GTS, but he doesn't get all of it, and we finally get the hot tag, and Randy is running wild here.
Yeah, Jimmy gets hit with the GTS. It missed by a mile. Pat calls it a modified
Go to night there.
The guy that does the go to sleep is in another company right now. So we can't say go to sleep.
We will soon, though.
Soon.
So we almost got the vintage Orton move, but he was pulled to the outside where Randy lands a back suplex on Jay onto the announce desk. Jimmy tried to help, but he gets one as well as Randy is now making his way back into the ring. Randy lands the vintage DDT, and he's viping up for an RKO. Jay counters with super kicks, and he uppercuts as Riddle tags back in, and he goes absolutely berserk. Jay finally slows Riddle down with knees to the back, and he lands a pop-up neckbreaker for a near fall. Riddle hits a bridging German for a 2 count as Jimmy blind tags in, and the Usos hit a pop-up Samoan drop that looked so awesome. for another near fall that Pat called
Alley-oops.
and I have to admit here, I actually loved that call.
That should have taken that. They absolutely should have ran with that. That was a great call by Pat. Just buried him, but he did an awesome job here.
Jay tags in and the Usos are getting up for a double super kick on Riddle, but Orton is hitting the ring. They absolutely murder Randy with super kicks. They landed on Riddle, and somehow Riddle kicks out here, and they really got me because I thought that was the finish.
Yeah, this one was the shoulder bridge up, for the kick out. Yeah, I don't know why Riddle would even try it, but he legit got a shoulder up. They even did a replay, which I thought was dangerous, and it showed that he got the shoulder up. So good on you, Matt.
So Jimmy tags in and Riddle posts Jay to the outside. Jimmy hits a spinning enziguri, sending him over to Randy, where Randy tags in and he eats a super kick. Riddle gets hit with one, and Jimmy is heading to the top rope, and Riddle is not the legal man. Jimmy flies, and Randy is there to land the RKO out of nowhere, and RKBro wins. Completely unexpected. This is not what I thought that we were going to see in this match, but what did you think, Teddy?
Yeah, I thought the finish was absolutely awesome. The match itself, not bad, but to me, this was absolutely not a pay-per-view tag match.
No.
Great TV match, shouldn't have been on pay-per-view, the way that it was worked. 3-star match for me. Dave Meltzer gave it 3.5 in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. What say you, John?
I think because of the finish and it being unexpected that RK-Bro was going to win, I think actually got me. So I'm going to give it 3.5. I'm going to side with Dave on this one.
Fair enough. And again, it was fine.
Right.
But on a Big 5 show, I don't want fine, especially when we saw a better Usos versus Street Profits match on TV.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And I guess
You know what I'm saying?
that's not really the style that you're going to see from RK-Bro. We're not going to see bangers like that.
Not going to see bangers with Randy Orton, but Matt Riddle's there. Matt Riddle has that in him.
I agree. Maybe not now, but he did back then.
He did back then. So our next Rock highlight, once in a lifetime, The Rock beats John Cena at WrestleMania 28. We go backstage. Sonya and Pierce are waiting for Vince. Vince comes in, goes to talk to them, and then he realizes
Somebody stole my egg. Someone stole my $100 million egg.
I loved this. I loved that the egg was missing.
someone stole his $100 million egg. Someone call the cops. And then Vince tells Pierce to interview each superstar to find the egg. So obviously everyone's under interrogation.
Thankfully, he has 100 less superstars to comb through. Yeah,
Thank God that you know what? If they'd have pinned it on Hit Row, I'd have died. That had to be those hip hoppers.
dude, that's exactly what they would have done. You would have done that in 2021.
Right. Best time for Hit Row ever to be released was right here. So Bianca wins the women's elimination match, and it's time for Friday Night SmackDown, the debut 2 years ago on Fox. Rock just undresses Baron Corbin, and then The Rock and Becky just kill Baron Corbin to death, and we move on in the show.
So Heyman is walking backstage, and you know who shows up. Paul says that he doesn't know who stole the egg, but he suspects that it's the Brooklyn audience.
Oh, dude, the way that Paul buried Brooklyn
Ask you.
Pick up the Brooklyn.
I wasn't
Oh!
and with this, the
I wasn't
Oh! Hey!
I wanted to get your tip.
great Brooklyn noises here out of Paul Heyman.
He was incredible. I loved it. I don't know how Kayla didn't break during this because I was laughing the entire time.
She's such a pro, man.
But she says that there's a rumor that Brock Lesnar's suspension is no longer indefinite, and Paul Heyman is completely left speechless.
Yeah, he starts like whisper raging, and he pronounces his P so hard, talking about
Pierce seems to have such a problem.
I love that. And then he gives this hard whisper.
Yeah.
So like he can't yell it, but he's so infuriated. And so it's time for the main event. We got a really cool package here. We got the New Day Brotherhood. When one succeeds, we all succeed. We get clips of Big E winning the belt, juxtaposing that with Roman's take where the New Day is great, but they're not better than the Bloodline. They show them taking out Kofi's knee, the Usos killing Xavier with the steps, crowning Roman with Woods' crown, and then the destruction of the King props from last week we saw. Then we get the Roman beatdown from Big E from the surprise attack. They seriously did an incredible job with this package because it feels like these guys have been on this collision course for God knows who long. It's literally been like 2 weeks.
Well, that's the funny thing is because Big E, we've mentioned this back the whole way back to Money in the Bank, is that Big E was lurking, especially whenever he got the Money in the Bank deal. Like, he kept messing with Paul for months, saying that he was going to come after him. So they kind of, that's kind of crazy that they had the foresight to be like, okay, we're going to plant seeds now, especially in 2021. We're planting seeds in May for Survivor Series at Thanksgiving. I am actually genuinely surprised that they did that. But the way that they did the package, you're right. They've literally been doing it for a week and a half, and it felt literally like they were going on for months. It felt like the longest feud that Roman had here.
Correct. Yeah, like if you just watch this show, you would think that, oh my gosh, this is two big-time main event guys going at it. And so by the time this package was over, I was hyped for this match.
Yeah. The Big E is out, Roman is out, and I'm ready to go. Let's cover this match, man.
Yeah, so Roman is taking his sweet time. He does his full entrance, and Big E's doing a great job no-selling everything Roman's doing. He starts jawing at Roman. The two take off their regalia, and it's time to rock. So Cole says that Roman hasn't forgot the beatdown 2 nights ago from Big E and King Woods, and I thought this is interesting. Will this be part of the story of the match?
I really like that they're tying it all together. Like that's actually what's really impressive about storyline.
Even if it doesn't all tie together, they make it seem like by accident it was. And even better, good on them.
So both men are feeling each other out as Big E powers Roman into the corner, and Big E is looking very confident to start this match. Paul is hyping up Roman on the outside by asking,
Whose tribe is this, my tribal chief?
and I loved this. You can see Roman starting to get his mind right, and he heads back into the ring. This was
Yeah, Paul screaming, he wants to sit at the head of your table. Like all those things. Roman's doing his little face twitch. Like good stuff here.
And Roman breaks a wrist lock, and he starts trading blows as Roman fires up, and he lands his signature clothesline, and he starts unloading on Big E with stomps. And after some punches, Big E shows his athleticism by leapfrogging over Roman, and he lands an elbow, dropping him. Big E pulls Roman to the apron and then lands some heavy rights, and he goes for his big splash, and Roman rolls out of the way, but he comes around the post, and he lands a drive-by. It should be noted that they do point out here that Big E hurt his knee whenever he did the splash, and that'll come in later on.
Now, what I noted here was we got a Nick Khan sighting at ringside. So when Roman's running around for the drive-by, I saw that slick back gray hair, and I was like, oh my God, there's Nick Khan.
I didn't even see him. I got to watch it again.
Oh, he's there, baby. He's there drinking it all in.
So Roman laid in a few shots for some quick counts, and then he sinks in a headlock, but Big E is able to fight out to the ropes, but he is cut off again by a big Roman shoulder tackle.
Yeah, early on, every pin attempt was only a 1 count. And what I really liked about that was so early into the match, we had the you ain't beating either man easy aspect of the match. And I thought that was really good. No twos every time. Cover 1, kick out. Cover 1, kick out. Good stuff.
Paul is very vocal on the outside, and I'm really liking this wise man that we're getting in this match here. But Big E tries to fire up, and he's cut off by a Roman big boot. Roman then throws Big E to the outside, and he keeps the pressure on by posting him multiple times. Roman tries to send Big E into the steps, but Big E counters, and Roman eats the steps as the count is closing in on 10, but both men are able to get back into the ring by a count of 9. Both men are now trying to recoup, but Big E lands a belly-to-belly and the big splash, and Big E is stalking Roman. He hits the ropes. Roman lands a Samoan drop, and all that momentum that Big E just built up is all gone now. Roman continues with rights, but Big E fires up with a Uranage, and then he applies the stretch muffler submission, and I loved this.
Absolutely, man. This is strength.
Yes.
Like that's what I loved about it was he started to put him up for it, and I typed, he's not going to do a stretch muffler.
Right.
And he did a stretch muffler. Like, that was awesome.
Yes, it's so weird to see Roman put in these different maneuvers that, like, he's never put in that ever.
And it gives credibility to the big, meaty man that's doing it.
Big meaty man slapping meat.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're showing off that this dude, just looking at him, he's a specimen, but seeing him do this to a man that's been so dominant for so long is great.
Yes. And so Roman powers over into a roll up and he picks up Big E for a sit out power bomb. And that was move of the match for me there. The amount of difficulty that we were just talking about, Big E being so impressive, a big meaty man, and for him to just be able to pick him up and lay him down, that was absolute insanity.
Big meaty man slapping meat.
And what I love about that is that's obviously it's a move you can't do by yourself. And so what I really appreciated was two champions giving each other everything here to make this match look good, make each other look good. This is great.
Roman is now in the corner. He's locked and loaded for the Superman punch, but Big E ducks out and Roman grabs him for a Uranage of his own.
Yeah, shame on you, Michael Cole. He calls it a rock bottom like move. And obviously he gets lit up on his headset because he immediately starts putting over the fact that it's The Rock's 25th anniversary. But if he just called it Roman hits a rock bottom, like that would have made that moment so much better. But he hits a rock bottom like move, I guess.
Roman lands a Superman punch and it only takes Big E down to one knee, and Roman is stunned here and he can't believe that it didn't do more damage. Roman lands another and Big E is getting back up right away. He's still alive, but it's short-lived as Roman lands a third one and now Big E is laid out. Roman is going for the spear, but when he turns around, Big E is standing there, and I loved this. I was so into it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this was awesome. So Big E starts his Hulk up fire up after the second Superman punch. And then Roman blasts him with another, takes him right down. And I laughed out loud at that. And Roman gives the ooh, ah. And then he turns around and then Big E's just standing there like Michael Myers. And that was great. Great camera work. Excellent work here.
The Big E gets Roman up for the big ending, but Roman slips out and Big E sends him to the apron, and then he hits a flying spear to Roman.
Yeah, my ACL would have exploded if I took this bump. Once Roman did it and he hit his legs or feet first, I was like, my God, I wouldn't have ligaments anymore.
No, I absolutely would have fell on my head, broke my neck. But Big E throws Roman back in. He hits the ropes. He lands a spear of his own for a big near fall. Roman stands up. He grabs Big E for the guillotine choke, but he powers Roman into the corner. Roman again is on the apron and Big E goes for the spear one more time, but Roman grabs Big E and he locks in the guillotine choke on the ropes.
Yeah, I like this too because this was fool me once, shame on me, and because he caught him the second time. So heady play by our champion.
And he has to break the hold before the 5 count, and he chokes Big E onto the middle rope. Roman now sinks in the choke in the middle of the ring, and Big E is fading, but Big E fights out, and he hits the big ending on Roman, but Roman gets his hand on the rope to break the count.
Yeah, this was a great near fall. This was the best near fall of the match so far.
Now, on the outside, Big E is bouncing Roman off of everything. Roman reverses Big E into the steel steps, hurting the knee that was injured earlier in the match with the splash on the apron. Roman then leaps over the steps. He lands a Superman punch. And here's what I love about this mini feud that we had. Roman rolls Big E back into the ring where Big E goes for the big ending. Roman slips off. He takes out Big E's knee, making him bend the knee, and the camera shot it perfectly. Roman hits the ropes, hits the spear. 1, 2, 3, it's over. And the reason that I liked it so much is because Paul said he was going to take a bended knee.
Then Roman Reigns will take a bended knee.
Finally got one here, and he closed out the match. So let's say you, Teddy, what did you think about this ending in this match?
Yeah, so I totally missed the bend the knee thing. I thought it was really, really clever. Good catch by you, man. I just wrote Roman kicked Big E's leg out from his leg, Owen Hart style. That's all I thought that it was. I thought this was very good. If this was not Roman and Drew, but very good. 4 stars for me. I'd love to see it again. It's a shame these guys are on different shows. I would have rated it higher, but as it really started to pick up, especially at the end, it's almost like they got the, hey, we got to go home. Let's go. Let's get this. And then it was over. Dave only gave it 3.5 stars. What say you, John?
I totally agree because I felt the finish felt flat. It felt like you're right. They got the time call. It's like, we got to go home. And we hurried up. He just threw him in the ring, took the knee, hit the spear, and we got out. But I still loved all of the elements of the match. I want more Big E versus Roman here. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah. And the shameful thing is these guys, they went over 20 minutes.
Right.
And that's what makes me mad is that I wish that it was structured so we got the crescendo of the match, the near fall at the 18-minute match instead of at the 21-minute point of the match. Do you know what I mean? To when they just had to go home right away.
The thing I like the most about it, and the reason that I'm going to give it 4 stars with you, is that I liked that we didn't have any interference. It was a clean pin in the middle of the ring with no interference.
Yeah, good call. Good call. So 2 things before we get out of here, brother. With all these Rock clips, the original idea was Dwayne Johnson was going to appear at the show. But like everything in Dwayne Johnson's world, there's projects with timetables. The idea to appear months ago had fallen through, and the filming of the second season of Young Rock had to deal with it. So this second season was being filmed in Australia, and so the travel made it virtually impossible for him to be at the show, even though plenty of people expected him to be there. And the big thing was people thought he was going to confront Roman after the show because it was all this big rock. And they thought that was going to be the moment that he stepped in and that we were going to have Roman and Rock set up for Mania the next year.
Yep. And it didn't happen because Rock is so unreliable.
Correct. So before we get out of here, man, so we got Cody Watch here because he's going to matter later on. So from the Observer that week, Cody teamed with Pac, Penta, and Phoenix against FTR, Andrade, and Malachi Black. This was the show where Cody threw his weightlifting belt into the crowd, and the guy that caught it threw it back, which got a huge reaction. The crowd was cheering during the parts of the match where Cody's getting beat on 4-on-1. And then after the match, Andrade lays out Rhodes with the hammerlock DDT. Chant, you deserve it. After the match, Cody teased going into the heel tunnel, and as he walked back, he didn't do so. Meltzer said from reports in the building, the crowd was even much more ravenous toward him than it appeared on TV. He even gave his wrist tape to a young fella up front, and the kid got heckled for getting his wrist tape. Yep. Bad time for Cody.
Bad times, pulling on the heartstrings here. Man, did I hate that show. Oh, I was so mad. But we're going to get him soon enough here. So that was part 50 of the Bloodline Rewind. If you've made it this far, be sure to like the video and leave a comment on what you thought about Survivor Series. And next week, we will be covering the fallout of everything that just happened as we are turning the page on 2020-21, and we are headed towards day 1. But with that, I'm Johnny Bakeshow.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
We just called it in the ring.